Hi, I'm Kristen with Forward Life Network, where we help people go from stuck to unstoppable with faith-based guidance. Why? Because faith always moves forward. In this episode, we're going to talk about my least favorite topic, and that is patience. Oh, I know. We're going to talk about the 5 patience moves you can make for frustration. Trust me, I know a lot about that. Stay tuned and we'll get into it. Welcome today to Forward Life Daily, and we're going to get into talking about patience. Ew, my least favorite subject, but one I definitely am learning to grow in, and I know you probably want to also. Basically, we're going to look at some patience moves to keep you more calm, centered, less frustrated. So our first move is when you're feeling frustrated, is to pause and breathe. And we're going to look at the scripture, Psalm 37:7. And it says, "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him." So basically, I want you, when you're frustrated, to take a pause and take a breath and take 3 deep breaths in and 10 steps away from the situation if you can. So that just gives you some pausing, some breathing. It just kind of, releases some of the frustration. Move number 2 is reframe the wait. And we're going to look at James 5:7. It says, "Be patient, therefore, brothers, until the coming of the Lord." So we're going to view the waiting as an opportunity to learn and reflect rather than to see it as a setback. So one of the things you can do is have a calendar or a timer, and that's going to turn your waiting into more productive time. Okay, our move number 3 is to practice small daily patience. In Galatians 5:22-23, it says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is patience." So you're going to mindfully practice that and choose small ways to do that. One of those exercises can even be in small areas of your life. So maybe the traffic is getting a little crazy. You can turn on some of your favorite music or a podcast, but just kind of slow down in those small moments to sort of help build that muscle of patience. Move number 4 is to reflect on past patient wins. And Romans 12:12 says, "Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer." So it's good to recall the times that you were patient in the past. I remember years ago, I was on a date, and the person that took me on the date had gotten tickets to the movie online, and they mixed up the front of the screen to the back row. A lot of times we would sit in the back of the movie theater, and this time they mixed it up, and it was one of those really big screens, and it had recliners. And so normally that probably would have made me very impatient and very frustrated to go there and be at a movie theater where we literally had to lay backwards, and because we were that first row in the front screen right in the middle. And I just remember going, and I was like, you know what? I need to let it go. It was a mistake. I need to be patient. This person took the time to plan this date for me. And so honestly, I just switched my attitude, and we ended up having a fun time. And it was kind of funny how close we were to the screen. I think it was the Hunger Games movie. And what was so hilarious was there was a couple next to us, and that guy did the same thing on that date. And the girl was just so mad. I think they got up and left. She was so frustrated the whole time. She was like berating him. And I was just like so proud of myself that I actually kept it together and I didn't get upset. Because it wasn't my normal. I'll be honest, it wasn't my normal. So I felt so good about myself that I was a little more patient, And I actually felt good about the person I was being, and seeing that other girl and how ridiculous that was kind of made me say, I don't want to be like that. So, recall some of those wins that will keep you going. And our move number 5 is to align patience with purpose. In Ecclesiastes 3:1, one of my favorite scriptures, it says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." So when you focus on one goal, you kind of trust the process, as we used to say. Uh, one of the taglines of the 76ers and Allen Iverson was "trust the process." And so that is really the thing. Patience is not passive. It's an active trust of your journey. It's actively trusting. And that's one thing I've learned as well with patience and those small wins, is that you're developing a trust. That's what's going on. So these are the 5 moves you can make to develop that patience. And really it's about staying calm and centered and proactive as life unfolds at its own pace. So practice one of these moves today and visit us at forwardlifenetwork.com/resources for this list. And just comment below and tell me, about a time you were patient, or maybe a time you weren't patient, and what you learned from that situation. Thank you so much.